Welcome everyone. This is Debbie Mayberry with National Kitchen and Bath Association. Today is the final webinar for the month of September on universal design, or some of you may know it as living in place. And today's session is called How Functional Hardware Impacts Universal Design with Karen Smith, who is the brand communication coordinator for Bloom Incorporated. And I know that you're with us now, Karen, so you are welcome to get started. Thank you so very much.
Thanks, Debbie. Good morning, everyone, or morning, depending on where you are. Like Debbie said, my name is Karen, and I work at Bloom within our marketing communications team. If you don't know Bloom, we manufacture products and solutions for cabinetry, such as hinges, drawer runners, box systems, lift systems, and drawer organization products. I've been with Bloom for about 5 years now, and one of the topics I take care of is our research. I'm not a kitchen designer, but by working at Bloom and within our research, I've come to know the kitchen industry pretty well, and one of our topics with our research is helping designers like you get new ideas and how to choose the best cabinet for the space, and that's what I'm hoping to share with you all today. Bloom is constantly doing research in kitchens and other parts of the home in order to continue to provide products that help homeowners not only get the most out of their space, but also have an enjoyable experience. And we go about this research in several different ways. To find out what actually goes on in kitchens and to see what users really want, we keep close tabs on kitchen users. One example of this, as you can see in the photo, is our kitchen observation studies. And what we do is we visit homes all across the United States and in the world too, but I'm just going to focus on what we've done in the States. We've been to big cities and small towns, and we've taken a look at how real people are using their kitchens. We note things like, what do they keep where? What hardware is in their cabinets. We measure to see how much space is available in the room and within the cabinet themselves. And we even homeowner questions about what they love or what they hate about their kitchen. What are their wishes if they could do it over again? And then finally, to close out the observation, we set up a camera and we film the homeowner making a meal and doing everyday tasks, whether that's throwing things in the garbage can, emptying the dishwasher, unloading the groceries, that kind of thing. And all this information goes back to our research and development team back in Bloom, Austria, where we're actually headquartered. I've also been a part of trainings with Bloom's Age Explorer suit. Maybe you've heard of it, or maybe you've even worn it. While Bloom didn't invent the suit, we do own the rights to it within the kitchen industry. And we'll talk more about the suit as we dive deeper in today's webinar. So like I mentioned before, what we aim to do at Bloom really is help designers like you facilitate conversations with your clients about the functional side of the kitchen. So we know that homeowners have tons of thoughts and opinions when they come to you on their new kitchens, whether they're bringing magazine photos or Pinterest photos, and have very specific ideas on how they want their kitchen to look. And rarely are they thinking about the hardware side that makes their cabinet doors and drawers work. So we say that kitchen has two sides to it. The beautiful side that brings together the personal colors and textures, but also the functional side of the kitchen that can be, and honestly should be, just as personal. And it actually goes deeper than just how cabinets open and close, but even as far as how we move around and use our space. So this invisible side of the kitchen, using air quotes there, is really up to you as an expert and where you can add value and really highlight yourself as a business. Before we go any further, I'd like to summarize more about what we're going to talk about today, starting with understanding our bodies and keeping in mind that universal design is bigger than just an aging topic. We'll learn about our aging bodies, and that can be applied to other ailments that we may experience in our lifetime. We'll spend a little bit of time talking about who the Universal Design client is, as well as how to facilitate conversations regarding universal design. And with layout, we'll look at some common layouts, key features, and some workflows. We know that you may not be able to choose the layout or the footprint of the space. So we'll also discuss cabinet selection within that layout and specific applications, such as the pantry cabinet. And we'll wrap it all up by talking about cabinet features. So before we get started into the design stuff, I think it's really important to understand what happens to our bodies over time, and keeping in mind this as we may have an ailment or a disability. This can really affect how someone uses their space and why the need for universal design was born. So I said earlier that Bloom owns the rights to the Age Explorer suit within the kitchen industry. And I'd like to take a moment just to dive deeper and explain what that means and what that means for our research. The suit was developed by the Meyer Henschel Institute over in Germany. And they're a team of geriatric researchers, and they developed this suit to really better understand what we may feel by the time the wearer of the suit ages 20 plus years. How we use the suit when developing new products is our researchers put the suit on, give themselves about 2 hours to get fully acclimated to the suit, and then try making a meal or doing everyday kitchen tasks to make sure that the product that is being developed is easily usable by people of all ages and all abilities. So it's not just focused on an older person, but really making sure that anybody of any ability finds ease using our products. Okay, now for the more fun stuff, let's talk about what happens to our bodies as we age. And there's really no sugarcoating any of this, and it's not fun to hear. There's a reason that this topic is a delicate discussion with our clients. But the silver lining is, and keep this in mind when you're hearing it for yourself too, is that these are worst case scenarios, and no one person is likely to experience everything that we'll discuss here today. So I'm going to ask you to try not to get depressed as we move along in this. But first, let's talk about what happens to our senses. By age 70, we only have a sixth of the taste buds we had in our 20s, and our sense of smell may diminish. This could be caused by the loss of nerve endings in the nose. But in fact, 40% of people 80 and older have difficulty identifying common foods, and that's because of 2/3 of our sensation to taste depends on the ability to smell. So this could explain why people in an older age group have a reduced appetite or little interest in food. Our visual acuity begins to decline in our 40s. Almost everyone over the age of 55 needs glasses for at least part of the time. And by age 60, our pupils begin to decrease to about 1/3 of the size that they were when we were 20. The average 65-year-old has the visual acuity of 20/70 or less, which means glare from driving or even materials in the home make it difficult to remain active. Our field of vision also gets smaller, as does our peripheral vision. 33% of people age 65 and older report that an inability to see well really prevents them from doing the things that they want to do. And thinking about this, just from a marketing perspective, where I come from, it's important to remember this when you're creating your own marketing materials. Make sure that the text is big enough to see easily, the high contrast background, and keep in mind that those with cataracts or other vision changes, it may change the way that we actually perceive color. I once had a designer tell me about a client that was actually very upset with her because she had asked for a certain color cabinet. But because what the client, the aging process that happened to her eyes, her and the designer actually perceived the same color very differently. And it was a huge misunderstanding, and it was hard to resolve because the designer didn't realize that they were seeing the same color two different ways. So that's something else to look out for with your clients. If we can call it this, a little silver lining happens at the age of 50, that we have a reduced sensitivity to pain. But unfortunately, that also leads to reduced fingertip sensitivity, which can make it increasingly difficult to perform everyday tasks. Think about like tying your shoes or buttoning up a shirt. And last sound, it is estimated that more than 30% of those 65 and older have a significant hearing impairment. And if that wasn't fun enough, there are other changes that happen to our bodies as well, aside from our senses. So joint motion becomes more restricted as flexibility decreases. This is caused by the change in our tendons and ligaments. Cartilage provides cushioning between bones, and it begins to break down from a lifetime of use, which can cause joints to become inflamed and arthritic. Hand grip strength also decreases, making it difficult to accomplish routine activities such as opening a jar or turning a key. And the blue highlighted spots here are the joints that our Age Explorer suit really focuses on in our research. In this image, I've highlighted muscle groups our Age Explorer suit focuses on, which is pretty much all of them. From the age of 45, the average person loses muscle mass at a rate of 1% per year. And by the time we're 65, a normal everyday task such as walking or taking a shower or putting on clothes may become not only difficult to accomplish due to the decline in muscle strength and flexibility, but it causes us to fatigue more easily. I know that's a lot of information to absorb, but really understanding our bodies, we can apply to anything else that may happen in our lives. For example, with pregnancy, there's increased joint pain and decreased, not to mention easily fatigued from everyday tasks. Someone may encounter a sports injury or surgery or car wreck that may take a period of time to heal. Your sense of balance could be off during this time. Your range of motion may be limited and things like that. So we can take what we learn from our aging bodies and really apply it to all ages, because we have no idea what may happen to us on this journey that we call life. So with all that said, I think it's important that we talk about the differences between the ADA standards and the topics of universal design. I think most homeowners, when they hear something like universal design, if they even know what that means at all, they're thinking more like an ADA space, or perhaps what they have seen in nursing homes, really commercial looking products and spaces, rather than residential, which is, things that are more noticeable. So I think it's important to get across the idea that universal design can be integrated into any design and personalized based on the family's needs. And the best part is that it's practically invisible. There are a lot of materials and products that make it really blend in and seem like a living space. And it doesn't really have to cost more than the standard design, which I also think is important. So if you're not already, now's a really good time to start incorporating these ideals into your designs. Home remodels are starting to become a big topic as we're clawing our way out of this whole coronavirus pandemic. People are spending more time at home and really realizing how they want their spaces to work for them. And since we can't travel as easily, a lot of people are taking their travel budget and actually putting it towards remodels. House reported in August that remodels were up 58% this June compared to this time last year, and a 40% jump was seen in kitchen and bath projects compared with this time last year. The AARP reports that 76% of Americans aged 50 and older want to stay in their current residence as they age, but only about 59% anticipate being able to do so. So universal design is important because of this. but also because it's a great target market, to be honest with you. Boomers hold the most disposable income by generation, and they will make up 21% of the population by the year 2030. And by the year that we reach 2060, 1 in 4 Americans will be age 65 or older. And those aged 85 and older will triple by that time. So let's talk about who is the universal design client. It's more than just older couples looking at remodeling projects. In fact, anyone can be a universal design client. We have a new normal in our world right now that I mentioned earlier, this coronavirus thing that's happening. And it will continue to impact the way that we use our homes. So we have no idea how long this is going to last. And we're finding that people are staying home more, obviously, cooking more. Kids are moving back from college because all classes are going remote. Grandparents may be moving in. And through all of this, kitchens still remain at the heart of the home. And they're transformed daily into school and workstations during the day and a place for families to still gather together in the evenings. We're seeing new product development and smart technology, and we're seeing a heightened awareness of adaptable environments, even if our clients don't know what that term means. So you as designers play a critical role in making sure that today's homeowners live in the spaces that support their changing needs and are already thinking of this for them. And thinking about this aspect for your client, can really set your business apart. But how do you discuss it with clients, especially knowing it's a touchy subject with the aging population? No one likes to be told they're getting older and won't be as limber as they were in their younger years. And this is really a good place to shift those conversations into how the kitchen functions and how you can personalize it to how your client wants to work and live in their space, especially with the uncertainties that lie ahead. So you can create stories and scenarios on why it's good to plan this up front, and even have them carry out some exercises in your showroom. If you're able to have people in your showroom, people understand best by doing. So if you have different displays, maybe have them bend down and get something out of a cabinet with a door and a shelf versus a full extension drawer that's organized, and then ask them how they felt about that experience, and tell them that the kitchen that they're using or building is going to last them the next 20 years. So, even if drawers seem a little more costly now, is it worth the cost in the long run to them? My mom's been wanting to redo her kitchen with drawers for years, never got around to it. And then a few years back, my dad actually broke his hip and he was the chef of the family. And by that point, it was too costly for them to redo the kitchen. And honestly, there wasn't time to redo it. So he really struggled with that of how to cook from a wheelchair, all because he couldn't reach the pots and pans and a base cabinet with a shelf. And even if the client isn't planning on staying in their home long term, you could have these conversations because it makes a good selling point for future buyers. So, if you can, just shift the conversation back to talking about the function, and that really bypasses the need to talk about the dark things that may happen to our bodies as we age. So we've been hearing the same common wants from our homeowners for years, and I don't think those are likely to change anytime soon. People want the open, integrated spaces. They're looking for more storage space, more drawers in their base cabinets, and maintenance-free features. And the best thing about these wishes is that they can all be easily achieved while creating a universal design based on cabinet choice and hardware. So now let's talk about how that really translates into a kitchen layout. A lot of times we can't change the footprint of the space, but we can talk about common things that are found in any layout. So the first thing that we want to focus on is decreasing the amount of footsteps in a kitchen workflow. no matter the layout or the person, all kitchens have similar workflows, right? Whether you're emptying the dishwasher, putting away those dishes, prepping food and throwing away the scraps. Those are just some examples of some common things that we do in our kitchens every day, and usually without even thinking about it. It's just become muscle memory at some point. So the best way to decrease footsteps in the kitchen ultimately is making the kitchen work more efficiently for the user. And we recommend separating the kitchen into zones. The zones work regardless of layout, and you're probably all intimately familiar with the kitchen triangle. And this idea can be used regardless of if you're for or against the triangle. I'm going to ask you to think about splitting up the common storage items into categories, or as we refer to them as zones. So no matter what your clients have in their kitchens, chances are they will fit into 1 to 5 zones. You have food storage, tableware, and this could be table decorations or plates, cups, silverware. You have your prep items that you need to prep your meal. Cleaning, which includes the sink, dishwasher, and the waste bin. And then cooking. And we encourage storing like items together. We've learned through our kitchen observation studies that people tend to store things where their mom always did. We once had a lady store her toaster that she used every morning in the back corner of her cabinet, and we asked her, well, why do you do that? And she said, I've never really thought about it. That's just where my mom always kept it. And I found myself actually falling into that same trap when I moved into my kitchen. Instead of storing things where it made sense or near to something else, I wanted to put it where my mom did it because that's what I was used to. In a kitchen where things aren't stored together, kitchen users walk up to 860 feet per day, which can add up to 1,200 miles over the course of 20 years, which actually is the same distance from walking from Birmingham, Alabama to Boston, which could cause a lot of unnecessary fatigue moving back and forth all over the place. But if we made a plan to store like things together, users actually walk 25% less over time. Even pantry placement can cause a lot of unnecessary movement in the kitchen. Situations where the pantry can be placed by the refrigerator, users can cut down on footsteps by 10%. So think about unloading groceries or gathering all the ingredients needed to make a meal. Everything can be gathered from the same spot without having to keep crossing the room for what you need. This mentality could also be used when thinking about clients emptying the dishwasher. The relation to the cleaning zone and the tableware zone should be small to make quick work of emptying the dishwasher. So like in my kitchen, for example, when I first moved in, my mom always stored her glasses beside the refrigerator because in her mind that's where it made the most sense. But actually, if I've got a dishwasher full of glasses, I can easily stand in one space and put them all away pretty easily. Another example, this is an original layout of a homeowner that wanted to update their kitchen. They didn't like the layout. They wanted to keep the sink and the dishwasher in the same place. They were willing to get rid of the wall on the side of the fridge and extend the wall behind it if needed. So here's an overview of that space. And I'd like for us to consider making a sandwich in this kitchen. So first we'd get the lunch meat and condiments out of the refrigerator and the bread out of the pantry. We'd walk over to get a knife and a plate to make the sandwich. We would take the refrigerated items back and take the bread back. We would grab the sandwich and the knife, take the knife to the dishwasher, and walk out of the kitchen. So after talking to their kitchen designer about workflows, this was actually determined as their final layout. So let's make a sandwich in the same kitchen. We would get the lunch meat out of the fridge and the condiments out of the fridge and the bread out of the pantry. We'd walk over to get a plate and a knife, make our sandwich, take the refrigerated items back, take the bread back, grab the sandwich and the knife, take the knife to the dishwasher, and then walk out of the kitchen. So you can see how much more of just a streamlined process that is without having to walk back and forth. Here's a look at some kitchens, how they may be zoned, how that may look. This is an L-shaped kitchen, and it could look something like this. And I know that we can't always change like where the sink is or where the stove is. So these are just really ideas to get you going. So the food storage in this kitchen would be on the left in the gray area, tableware storage beside that, cleaning area in the blue, the prep space in the corner, and then the cooking zone in the red. And here's a look at some more popular layouts and how they can look with zones. Again, the gray represents food storage, orange represents tableware storage, blue represents the cleaning zone, which again includes the sink, waste drawer, and dishwasher. Yellow represents the prep items, and red the cooking area and storage. So talking about some other key elements in a universal design kitchen, lighting is always a big one to keep in mind for any universal design space, especially knowing how our vision diminishes over the years. And the nice thing about lighting is it can be layered in through natural light, ambient light, task light. For example, this kitchen shows pendant lights, recessed can lights. Lights are placed under the wall cabinets that provide an additional but hidden source of light. And also the nice thing of what I like about this kitchen is how tall the windows are. So even in a seated position, it's easy to see out, which helps integrate the space and kind of bring the outdoors in for people. Open plans, even though open floor plans and blending space between kitchen and living areas are very popular in today's homes, it's something to keep in mind as you consider multi-generational design. Eliminating walls or creating half walls can help make small areas feel bigger, and it can also provide a better flow. Islands and peninsulas are very popular in today's kitchen, and it's a great place to build in multi-level counter heights. So not only do they provide a better flow, but they enhance the functionality of the space. They serve as a great place to provide seating, either for for entertaining or to serve as a workspace where someone can sit and prep if they're feeling fatigued. They can sit and work and still feel like they're contributing to making the meal and being part of the conversation. And it really helps the space feel more inclusive that way. It's also great if a wheelchair was ever needed temporarily in the home. A person could have an easily accessible workspace and also a space to eat. A standard height table near or connected to the island is also ideal for this reason. So with that said, it's still important to create plenty of space between counters. This allows for more than one person to work in the kitchen if you're designing for somebody with a big family or a wheelchair or a person in a walker to not be constantly bumping against the cabinets when trying to get things out. So a minimum of 42 inches between counters is recommended. At least 48 inches is optimal where possible. And in a U-shaped kitchen, you're going to need at least 60 inches of clearance for those wheelchairs to be able to make those turns. Flooring is also important. Removing any trip hazards. Slip resisting comes in a wide variety of styles and patterns. It's a great option for a kitchen. And not just thinking about older people, but kids that may be running through there losing their balance too. So a lot of things to think about with flooring. Appliance placement is also important. It's important to plan appliances where they can be easily reached and don't require much bending or stooping. This can be considered from microwaves, ovens, even thinking about refrigerator choice, making sure that there's plenty of reachable storage space. A double oven is a great option if there are a lot of people with multiple heights that are cooking in the home. So like if you have a really tall cook and a really short cook, a double oven is a great option for that. We talked a little about contrast earlier, and I'm going to repeat myself. So providing contrast between countertops and cabinets and your knobs really help older clients with limited visual acuity, just increases safety and efficiency within the space. And just as important as discussing layouts and key features for universal design, cabinet selection, just as, if not more important. Ergonomics are an important part of kitchen design. We've talked about storing items where they make sense for the user or in their zone, but the best way to store those items is just as important to the workflow. So in this diagram, we're looking at a traditional cabinet with a door and 2 shelves. The red portion of the diagram indicates where infrequently used items should be stored in relation to the ergonomics of reaching that item. Most of this cabinet setup is not ideal for a kitchen user. In this cabinet, we see a base cabinet with partial extension drawers. Frequently used items are accessible toward the front and the top of these 2 drawers, with less frequently used items in the backs of the drawers and the bottom drawer, as they are not as easily accessible. A base cabinet with full extension drawers becomes much more functional in an ergonomic cabinet. So not only do full extension slides bring the entire drawer into light where contents can be seen, the storage items are also more accessible. And going along with that same thought, it's important to think about what level items should be stored in the kitchen. And we tend to do this naturally, but it's nice to look at it in a chart. I've never seen anybody with a silverware tray in their bottom drawer. It just doesn't make sense there because it's something that we access frequently. So having this conversation with your clients and, you know, even showing them this chart could facilitate those discussions on what items they have and where they should be stored that really makes sense based on accessibility. Rather than, you know, storing something in a bottom drawer, well, because that's where your mom always put it. So really diving down into the inventory of goods that your clients have here and asking them how often they're using this stuff. So I think we'd all agree that a kitchen full of full extension drawers are the best option for a universal design kitchen. But cabinet and hardware selection can be a way to further personalize a design for your client. I think the best thing about this is it doesn't matter what style of cabinetry your client is looking for. Drawer fronts can be as modern or as traditional as they would like, along with interior hardware for that matter. Perhaps you have a client that's looking for something a touch more modern, wanting metal drawer slides that match their appliances, or maybe they're painted to match their cabinet faces. These options are great because they provide a high load capacity, slim sides, which means more storage in the drawer, and they're easy to wipe down and keep clean. On the other hand, if you have a client that loves the aesthetic of a wood drawer, there are hardware options that allow for deep, wide, heavy drawers for that as well. So it's really up to what your client wants, and it can be as customized as you desire and offer a ton of functionality. Another way to personalize cabinet selection is to really dig deep into what your clients have to store in their lifestyle. For example, do they cook a lot and have a lot of pots and pans? You probably want to plan wide drawers for that space. If your client bakes a lot, maybe you want to plan a special baking cabinet customized for their needs. If it's a large multi-generation family, maybe you want to plan an extra wide pantry so they have plenty of food storage options. These are conversations that really help you engage the client as you move further into the designing process. Along with width, drawer configuration is important as well. This is a popular configuration that we see in a lot of kitchens. And let's talk through the functionality of a drawer base like this one though. Beyond the first 2 or 3 drawers, especially depending on where this is placed in the kitchen, what can actually be stored in those bottom few drawers that doesn't need to be accessed frequently? We have measured some of the common storage items, and honestly none of them would fit in this cabinet. So we want to choose cabinets that really make the space efficient and usable for our clients. We can consider unique ways to store some of the common storage goods. For example, plates in base cabinets. They're not the norm. Something I never heard of, certainly before Bloom, but it actually makes a lot of sense. And with something like a plate holder that has rubber feet to keep the stack of plates from sliding around, or, you know, I've seen the options with the pegs. It's a way for plates to stay put and also making them easily accessible. So if we think about someone with a rotator cuff injury, or perhaps someone with just limited range of motion or decreased upper body strength, it's much easier to get a stack of plates from a base cabinet and lift them up to the countertop versus taking them from the countertop and stacking them into a wall cabinet. So after digging into all of this with your client and talking about what they need to store and picking cabinets that offer adequate storage space for those items, at the end of that process, you could even consider making a blueprint for your client so they know when they go to unpack their new kitchen, they know where every item goes. I know that would have saved me a lot of trouble unpacking my new kitchen. And you can see in this example, the client wanted a space for a kid's drawer, so we put that on the bottom, and they wanted a space, you know, for their junk drawer. And, you know, honestly, your clients will really appreciate the thought and personalization behind this, even if it does require a bit more work on your end. But word of mouth is the best advertising that you can get, and I guarantee you, if a client pulls this out when they're showing off their new kitchen, they're really going to be eager to talk about how excited they were with their friends. So talking more about cabinets, organization of storage goods. Cabinet organization is something we've probably all struggled with in our own homes, whether that's, you know, a pot that's ended up at the back of the shelf, or a Tupperware lid in the bottom of a drawer that you're just digging for. But proper cabinet organization can eliminate these obstacles and make a kitchen experience a more enjoyable one. It's especially important for the top drawers to be properly organized with everything in its place, thinking about those that may have decreased sensitivity in their fingertips. Older people are prone to thinning skin that cuts and bruises easily, and we don't want our kid who may be helping us in the kitchen, you know, we want them to be safe and aware of sharp objects. And a disorganized drawer, like the one you see on the left, may have something with sharp edges. It could be scissors, it could be knives, it could be skewers. And those things are much safer when there's a place for everything within the drawer, and no one has to rifle through storage items to find what they're looking for. So proper organization really makes things easier to see, easier to reach, and, you know, makes quicker work of your kitchen task. Wall cabinets up to the ceiling are beautiful and something that we commonly see in today's homes, and they look like they provide a large amount of storage. However, it's hard to get to, and frankly, cabinet doors can be a hazard. Have you ever been emptying a dishwasher and stood up and had to dodge a cabinet door or had to close a cabinet door to access a neighboring cabinet. This is something that we see a lot of in our kitchen observation studies. And this movement is actually how our lift systems were born. So shifting wall cabinets to clean horizontal lines of base cabinets and cabinets where the doors lift up instead of out offers a lot of functionality. So cabinet doors that move up and out of the way offer full access to the cabinet, and they can be as wide, if not wider, than the base cabinet below it to match up the lines. And the best part is you don't have to worry about hitting your head. They're a great alternative also to open shelving. Open shelving is very aesthetically pleasing, and it's popular among today's designs. But the gunk from cooking can actually build up on those items and require extra work to clean or rinse the item before it can even be used in prepping. So lift system kind of takes that mentality and puts it in a wall cabinet so users can have the best of both worlds. Bringing down a wall cabinet to rest on the counter can improve accessibility as well and provide additional storage options for those who may be in a wheelchair or kids who want help in the kitchen, or even those who just have difficulty reaching. And an appliance garage, like you see on the left here, can easily hide the storage when the kitchen is not in use and makes for a cleaner look. So I talked a little bit about pantry cabinets already. The type of cabinet that you plan can have a huge impact based on how the interior is actually planned. So full extension interior rollouts in pantries bring storage items into the light and make them more accessible from more than one point. And individual drawers in the pantry means that no matter how many items the cabinet is storing, the drawers are easy to open with minimal force and the items can be removed easily. So now that we have our cabinet picked out, placed in the layout so the kitchen flows in a way that it makes sense, I would like to talk more about how the cabinet actually functions. So we know that soft closing and self-closing cabinet doors and drawers have pretty much become mainstream within the kitchen industry. But considering how the cabinet opens is just as important as considering how it closes. Knowing that our hand grip strength decreases over time and many people develop arthritis, cabinet knob and pull selection is very important. People may not be able to grip the round knobs, so wide U-shaped handles are easier to grasp, therefore making cabinets easier to open. And with that, you just want to choose a handle that you can get a couple of fingers around. For clients that have a lot of trouble with this or prefer a handleless option for their kitchen, there are touch to open technologies available for that as well. This motion technology can be available as both an electrical or mechanical option, and it doesn't have to be an all or nothing when selecting cabinets. So maybe they would just want to choose the most frequently used cabinets, like the waste drawer. And I'm going to try to play this video here for you so you can see what a touch to open technology may look like for a waste drawer. Think about when you're prepping chicken. That's my go-to because it's the grossest to me. So I have a handful of chicken scraps that I need to throw away. It'd be much simpler to just walk up, bump the front of that cabinet, throw them away, and then I don't have chicken gunk on my knobs or the front of my cabinet. And a lot of clients don't want to spend the extra money on this added feature, but you can have a conversation with them about that. Think about how much money you spend on a garage door, and maybe you only use that garage door twice a day. But this cabinet, a waste cabinet, is actually accessed 35 times a day. And if you have this in your showroom, place a bowl of ping pong balls above it and have them dig down and grab some ping pong balls in their hands and actually try it. And once they try it, they'll be sold on the idea too. Touch to open options are also available for lift systems. The doors automatically move up and out of the way and can be closed again with the touch of a button. The button can be placed anywhere, so it can be placed lower for those who have a lot of difficulty reaching. And with electrical touch to open cabinets, something that we like to tell designers is, you can plan an on-off switch to a light switch. That way, if they have younger kids in the home, they can just turn it off so the kids aren't running through opening up all the cabinets. The cabinets open and close with a soft close feature regardless of whether the power is on or off, which is also important. So if your power ever goes off, you can still access what you need from your cabinet. Okay, so I know that was a lot of information to go over, so I just want to take some time to summarize and then answer any questions that you may have that relates to cabinetry. So again, universal design is one of the primary sources of design innovation and advancement. It's something that you can think about for your clients and shift the conversation to talk more about the importance of the key functions rather than focusing so much on scenarios that we all know are probably likely to happen at some point, but aren't ready to face. Establishing workflows in the kitchen is very important and can be personalized to your client. Remember to keep distance between counters wide enough for 2 people to maneuver or for a wheelchair or walker. We talked about considering giving your clients a blueprint of their new kitchen with where items can be stored when they go to move into their new kitchen. We talked about ergonomics and how full extension drawers make the most sense, and how to easily get storage goods in the kitchen and some specific applications that may help with that. And we wrapped up by discussing some key cabinet features like what kind of handles or pulls, as well as some touch to open technologies. And when doing a universal design, here are just some questions you can ask yourself to make sure that you're achieving that design. Is the design inclusive? Does it allow for flexibility? Does it reduce hazards? Does it keep physical efforts to a minimum? Is it easy to get in and out of? Does it make it easy to prepare meals? And with that, I just want to thank you all so much for your time today, and I hope that you found some valuable points to take away that we discussed. And I will turn it over to Debbie to see if there are any questions that I can hopefully answer for you.
Well, thank you so much, Karen. This has really been interesting. And before we start with the questions, I just want to give a shout out to Gebrit for their generous sponsorship for this month. And there are some questions, so we'll get started. So do any of the aging in place stats look at the luxury versus mid-tier marketplace? And I'm going to just add this comment in here. This person says, my experience is that the luxury market does not want to age in their existing homes. They're moving to community living or at least condos in nice climates. The aging in place kitchens would then be in developments rather than single homes. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I know that's becoming more of an opportunity in bigger areas, but in rural areas, like where I'm at, for example, people just want to stay in their homes, and there's really not that many options for communities. So I think it's just something to keep in mind, and maybe even have that conversation with your client. But I think the stat was like 59% of people don't think it's possible to stay in their homes because they don't have those features, whereas 76% of people overall really want to.
Okay, that's good to know. So a while back, you were showing a floor that had non-slip flooring, and the person wanted to know if it was laminate flooring.
I honestly do not know that. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's okay. And then when we were talking about wheelchairs earlier, person is asking, what is the optimum counter height for someone who's using a wheelchair?
I want to say 32 or 34 for the countertop height, but I would have to double check that. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. And I think that there are some stats in the NKBA planning guidelines. I believe they do cover that. So if any of you out there have that accessibility to that, or you can purchase online, we do offer that information. But thank you, Karen. And then let's see, people were asking about where you got the images when you were showing the pictures of the storage items in some of your images today. I guess they're probably thinking about possibly using some of these types of things with their clients to show them what that would look like.
Like,
I don't know if that's like, you know, stock images that you got from somewhere, like when you were opening the drawers and things like that and showing items inside. I think that's what they're
okay, so some of them came from Bloom, and some of them came from stock imagery.
okay. Okay, that's good. And then someone again is saying that they love the images and they were wondering, would they have access to those images and give Bloom the photo credit? So I'm not sure that that's possible, but that question is out there.
Will everybody get my email address, or
Yes,
if
I think
that
Ken
person
did.
wants to reach out to me directly, I'm happy to share the Bloom images with you. I'm not sure how the stock image thing would work if what you're looking for is one of our stock images, but I can definitely share Bloom images with you.
Okay, that's great. And then someone was also asking, would it be okay if they showed this presentation to their clients?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's what I was thinking too. And then let's see, someone is asking specifically about the upper cabinets. So how do you close the upper cabinets with the horizontal doors without the touch to open bottom?
Okay, so that's a very good question. And the way those cabinets work is they're, I think we call it a counterbalance or something. So whenever you open that cabinet, however high you open it, it'll actually stay in that position. And I'm doing the motion with my arm like you can see me. But it'll stay in that position so you can easily reach it. So it won't like fly all the way up to the ceiling and then you not be able to reach it. It'll stay where you put it.
Okay. And then someone's interested in sharing this session today, which I think is fine, with some of their occupational therapists. So I think that's okay.
Yeah.
And let me see here. Someone said, great review, and they love the idea about the zones. They hadn't thought about presenting it that way before, so thank you for that. And
Good.
then, yeah, and then someone's asking, where can I access, you talked earlier about the kitchen observation study. Where can they access that?
So we don't have anything written out. We just have the videos saying like, hey, this is what we do. But that's a really interesting point. Maybe something that we can put together for you guys at a
Okay,
later time. But that's a really interesting point that I hadn't thought about. We just pretty much send our report back to Bloom, Austria. But I like that idea.
okay. So you mean like maybe they might put them out on your website or something like that as an
Right.
example?
Yeah.
Yeah, good, good. That would be a great ask. Um, so then when we were talking about the flooring before, someone said they thought it looked like luxury vinyl tile. So thank you for that comment. And let me see here. They love that you're showing dynamic space. This person says, we have pamphlets for our customers to talk about dynamic space and planning the zones. So that's something to think about, right?
It is. So we haven't put a big focus on dynamic space in the past couple years, but we are putting together some things for hopefully that you can use with your clients. So if you're interested in that kind of information to share with your clients, please reach out to me and we'll get something together for you.
And since you're speaking of reaching out, I'm not sure that you showed a slide here with your contact info, but there are a couple people here asking for your email address. If you want to just, give that out right now, that would be great.
Okay, if everyone's ready, it's Karen, Karen .Smith, SMITH, at Bloom.com.
That's great. Okay, and I'll type that in here into the text chat, and that way everyone has that as well. But I'll also send it out to all of you, in our follow-up email. And I'm just looking to see if there are any other questions. A lot of people, they really liked this presentation. Some of them said it was one of the best they've seen. So,
Oh,
yeah, so
I'm
you
so
had a,
glad that you guys found value in it.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And I'm just looking to make sure I see a few more questions here, so let me get to those. Let's see. The ADA states that countertop height to not exceed 34 inches AFF. Thank you for that information. This is helpful. Do you know the average cost increase for the touch to open waste basket cabinet that you showed?
I do not, because I don't want to say it based on Bloom, because other companies also offer that. So I don't know. And really, it's up to the cabinet maker. Once
Okay.
it leaves Bloom, we kind of lose control over how much they want to charge.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Very good. That's correct, because you're manufacturing, and that's a whole different pricing schedule when it gets out there on the market. Let's see. Have you noticed your clientele budget increasing once you show the diagram of your system and plan? So I'm not sure who that's directed at, but let's see. Have you noticed your clientele budget increasing once you show the diagram of your system and plan? So I'm not sure how to answer that. How would we answer that?
And I think it just depends on your conversation with them. Or maybe, even if they don't want to increase their budget, you can kind of look at ways to tweak it. Like, okay, I'm willing to sacrifice this cabinet for this cabinet. If that helps answer that at all, I'm not sure.
Okay, that sounds great. And I'm just looking to see here if we have any other questions. And I don't see any, just a lot of people are saying very informative, great presentation. So Karen, I want to thank you so much. And once again, thank Geberit for their generous sponsorship for this month. And Karen, for your time and your expertise in presenting for us today. I know you'll be back next month, so I'm excited for that. And I want to thank you all out there in the audience as well for being with us. Karen, thank you again.
Yes, thank you so much. Everyone have a great day.
You too.